What's going on, everyone? Welcome to What I Want to Know. I am Frank the Tank Iantorno, producer of the Do I Want to Know podcast, and I'm joined by, the boys, the lads. We got Mitch on this side and Marc down there. Boys, how's it going?
We're good. But I think Marc has something else to say. I think he's in pain right now.
Yeah, boys. So everybody watching the podcast, all the audience, if I'm not the most talkative or I sound a bit weird on this podcast, my wisdom teeth, they're just banging. They're clanging and banging out there.
Hey, Marc, come here. Marc, come to my house. I'll pull them out for you just like that. Just give a nice yank.
I would not trust Mitch to pull out.
Mitch would, yeah, it'd be a weird situation for sure. But yeah, and also maybe some of you are wondering, Marc, did you get like some makeup done? You look so nice. Well, it's because I got a new computer, the new MacBook Air. So you know what I mean. Marc's looking all nice and crispy,
And crispy. So no makeup.
No makeup. Man is feeling himself too much right now.
I am. I'm feeling nice. But yeah, that's how I'm doing. How about you, Mitch? Is everything good, bro?
Buddy, everything is good. I got nothing to complain about. I'm just ready to get this short series started. Frankie, take it away.
Perfect. So, as everyone listening may know, may not know, depending on how long you've been listening to, the three of us are in sport media. We're all massive sports fans. And this is an interesting time for sports right now because the NHL is starting in a couple weeks.
Yes.
We got the NBA that started a couple weeks ago. We have the World Juniors on, which I've been watching, and it's very exciting. And then probably the number one thing on everyone's agenda, the NFL playoffs are set, and they are going to be in full gear starting Sunday with more wildcard games than ever.
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday,
Super
actually.
Wildcard weekend, they call it. Super Wildcard weekend.
Wow. Banded playoffs.
Yeah.
And first of all, what do you guys think about putting three wildcard teams in and getting rid of one bye? Like it or no?
It's pretty solid, I'd say. Like, because I felt before that and even just a one bye just for the first seed, it makes it a lot more compelling in the regular season, and it gives more opportunity to teams. Because if there's only two wild cards, you sort of like miss out on a third good team. Like even this year, we saw that like the Dolphins missed out on the playoffs, and they were like 10-6. So, but like in a regular season, 10-6 wouldn't even be good enough. Like you'd have to be 11-5, maybe 10-6, 9-7. You win a division, but it's not that likely,
Yeah. I you know what? At first, I'm not like didn't like it at all, but you know what? I kind of agree with that. It came to the last day where teams that made the playoffs already were still in the hunt for something else, and that was the number one seed. And obviously, we know the AFC was locked up by the Kansas City Chiefs, but the NFC in the last game, there were three teams going for that one seed. So it brings a little bit more extra competition-wise instead of just cruising into the playoffs. So, you know what? I actually do like it.
For sure. And look, let's face it. Everyone loves an underdog. Everyone loves a Cinderella story. And by adding another team into the playoffs, it kind of just throws in another underdog.
Yes.
I want to know, and shout out to our boy Stetson, who actually puts this question on our TikTok.
Yes.
And guys, just make sure you're following our TikTok because every week you guys can make sure that your questions are answered on the show. We have 3 great questions today coming from the listeners, and this is the first one. So shout out to Stetson. So I'm going to go through the bracket, and I want to know your guys' playoff predictions for the NFL season.
All right.
Okay?
Do it.
So I know for a fact that both me and Marc, our team is not in this, so we're going to be unbiased.
Have fun with that, boys. Nice Cowboys fans.
And I also know.
Get my Stephen A. hat and my cigar and just be like, where them Cowboy fans at, man? Where are they at?
I will edit out every single one of your parts if you do that. I have the power to edit out what I like. Shout out to the boys who give me creative control for the editing. Although Mitch might revoke that if I just edit out all of his parts.
Yeah, maybe.
So let's get into it. And so Mitch might be a little biased because that man right there is a Seahawks fan. However, he's a realistic Seahawks fan. He's not a delusional one. He acknowledges how bad their defense is.
It got better, but whatever.
But still bad. I mean, I'm not one to talk as a Cowboys fan, but
yeah. Okay.
Whatever. So, as Mitch mentioned, the Chiefs are the 1 seed in the AFC, pretty predictable, and the Packers are the 1 seed in the NFC, which was not as predictable, but still a great team, really solid team. So let's start in the AFC and let's go Bills, Colts. Two great defenses. What do you guys think? Mitch, you go
Bills.
first.
Bills.
Easily?
Yeah.
I don't think we should give a quick explanation because it's supposed to be a short series, but I'm gonna go with the Bills.
All right, I'm gonna go Bills. We'll give like one sentence explanation.
How about if you pick an upset that requires an explanation, feel free to explain. If not, we'll stick with.
Yeah. So I got Bills. Yeah, Josh Allen, way too much on the offensive end.
Hard to argue against that. Steelers, Browns. That could be an interesting one. Mitch?
You know what? Andreas is going to like this take. I'm going to go with the Browns. I have not liked the Steelers at all. They had a pretty easy schedule at the beginning when they went like 11-0. And since then, they've been not the best team. They've squeaked by a couple times. It's not looking good. Browns are looking pretty fresh, pretty clean. The defense is going pretty well. And even, too, they had that big win as well. So
okay, that was your little controversial take, and that's why you explained it a bit more.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with the Steelers because I just watched the last game, and Steelers were in it, with Mason Rudolph and some backup, a lot of injuries. Now you get Ben Roethlisberger back in the playoffs. I got Steelers going.
Ben's not slinging it anymore, though. But, okay, keep going. Next one, Frank.
I got to agree with Mitch, by the way. I got the Browns, too. I believe this is a rematch from last year's upset. The Titans against the Ravens. What do you guys think?
For
Mitch
me,
had Derrick Henry on his fantasy team, so I think he might go with the Titans. Mark, what do you think?
I got the Ravens. Ravens have all the momentum right now, 100%. They're
I like
coming
that
in.
take.
That hot playoff team, wouldn't be surprised if later you find out where they go. Ravens.
Mitch?
Of course, you're going with King Henry, man. Come on, Titans.
You know what? I got to go with the Ravens. I think Lamar is going to be on a revenge tour.
Really?
Revenge tour.
Don't trust him in the playoffs at all.
Let's go over to the NFC because this is where it is up in the air. So Packers locked in. They got the bye. Next, we got the Saints against the Bears. This one sounds pretty self-explanatory. And does anyone have the Bears?
No.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with the Bears. Controversial take. Last thing I'm going to say, this is my most controversial take probably. I think the Saints have proven year in, year out that they're vulnerable to an upset in the first round. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Vikings last year. So, you know what? Those aren't two great quarterbacks. Like Carson Wentz not even playing for the Eagles now. You had Kirk Cousins on the other side. I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky is like as good as those guys, but like he's at least close. So you know what? I'm going to go with the upset alert. Give me the Bears.
Okay,
Give me
you do
the Bears.
Just a preface for all our fans, I believe that Marc, from the beginning of the playoffs last year, had some money on the Saints, and they absolutely crushed his heart in the opening round. So that might be
100%.
coming from a place of resentment from last year.
I agree.
So we're going over to Mitch's team here. Seahawks, Rams. What do you guys got?
Man, Cooper Kupp's got COVID. Jared Goff broke his thumb last time. Aaron Donald's a beast, and that defense is the best defense in the league no matter what. Give it to Russell Wilson and his offensive weapons in Carson, Metcalf, Lockett. I don't want to say more. Seattle's winning this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Mitch. I saw them against Arizona. Not too impressive. Like, even when Goff comes back or if he comes back, I don't know. It's not going to be that much. I think Russell Wilson too much to handle. And, yeah, I got Seahawks for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think Seahawks for sure. Now, what about the winner of the NFC East? The greatest division in football and the most exciting division in football.
100%.
The Washington football team against Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Bucks led by Tom Brady. What do you guys think?
So this is the final one, right? We're not going to be going through all we're going to wait until the results.
Yeah, but you
with the Tampa Bay, Washington, nice story. Tampa Bay, it's going to be a rout.
Yeah,
I agree.
You have Tampa Bay, right? And I agree with that too. One thing that we didn't have we had a question mark with is Antonio Brown. Wasn't getting a lot of looks. 3 straight games with TDs. Now with Brady, that chemistry is looking good. And if that defense plays, if that defense just stays in the game, it doesn't give up stupid plays, they're a Super Bowl contender, easily.
For sure. Although Tampa has shown that they're not great against really good teams. However, Washington is not a really good team, so I think they'll handle them fairly easily. And that concludes the games that are coming up for this weekend.
Wildcard weekend. That's right.
I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I'm going to be watching football, and I assume you guys will be watching some football too, and we'll see whose predictions are right.
Okay,
Right.
sounds good.
But I want to get into one thing here, okay? Because this weekend I'm going to be watching football, but a couple weekends ago I was watching Wonder Woman 1984, and it was one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
Preach,
Ever.
my brother.
It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
So bad.
I am very fortunate that my lovely girlfriend, Victoria, shout out to Victoria, submitted this question on our podcast after hearing me rant about Wonder Woman 1984 for probably since I've watched it for about 2 weeks. And she wants to know, what's the worst movie you've ever seen? I want to go directly to Marc, the movie.
Yeah, don't go to me
on this one.
I
got one answer and I got another answer. So one answer is for the worst funny movie of all time. So this isn't like bad in terms of like terrible, like isn't even good at all, but like this is a pretty bad movie. I'm gonna go with The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan. So this is a movie, and it came out in 2008. It's with Mark Wahlberg. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Zooey Deschanel, but it could be not Zooey Deschanel, but I think it is Zooey Deschanel in The Happening. Frankie can sort of like.
I'm checking that right now, Marco.
Somebody else is somebody. Who's the wife in this, Frankie? Just so I know the name.
Let's see. It is Zooey Deschanel and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. And the movie, Mitch, listen to this. The Happening. You know who the enemy in the movie is?
Who?
The wind. So every time it gets windy, some next things happen in the neighborhood and people start going crazy. And the nature, it's coming from the trees.
Like a tornado or like wind?
No, like
wind.
If there's a gust of wind, something happens in the movie and it goes crazy and everybody in the town starts going mad. And only Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel are trying to find the same people throughout this wind. And it's fucked. Like, what the hell goes on? Like, there's a lot of reviews on the internet. It's like, what the hell's going on? But my actual pick, not as funny. It's called Freddy Got Fingered. That is the worst movie of all time.
How would you even watch that based off of that title?
It's actually it
sounds like a porno, not gonna lie.
It sounds like one. It sounds like one. But on God, it's a comedy movie with this guy called Tom Green. It's one of the worst things I've ever watched in my entire life. Really bad, like really cringy. It's not even like sexual. It's just I couldn't get my head around what was happening in the movie.
But you see, Mitch kind of brought up a good point before the show. And there are movies that are bad, but enjoyably bad. And there are movies that are just bad that we're like, I don't even want to watch this. Mm-hmm. Like an example of that is Superman 3, back with the old Supermans.
Okay.
Superman 3 is a horrible movie. However, it is very, very enjoyable. Superman spinning the Earth on its axis to go back in time and save Lois Lane is classic, and it's great, although horrible. So, Mitch, do you have any movies that, they might not be, they're bad, but you enjoy, or movies that are just bad, or movies that were disappointing that you thought would be better?
I got one's pretty disappointing. One being, me being a big Marvel and Star Wars fan, The Rise of Skywalker. Come on, guys. Like,
Cap.
No. There was times where, they had cool scenes and it was good lights. It was better lightsaber battles, whatever you want to say. But there's times where they could have made scenes better. Like when they had all the Jedi talking to them. They could have the Jedi pop behind them. There were scenes where, honestly, I'd rather have Kylo Ren survive than Rey, to be honest. I thought you would have carried the franchise a little bit further, in my opinion.
Rey is not the best.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't that was my opinion. And the fact that you could just transfer each other's life forces back from each other, like you could have done that when everyone else had died throughout the Star Wars universe. Everything was just so, I didn't like it. And
sort of similar to like Wonder Woman 84, where only wishes made true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like everybody made a wish.
That sounds stupid. I'm not gonna watch Wonder Woman.
It was really bad, really bad. But Mitch, I agree. Rise of Skywalker, worst Star Wars movie. I don't know about worst film because you don't watch many, but I appreciate.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the worst.
I don't think it's the worst Star Wars movie.
I don't know, but I think it's the worst Star Wars movie.
Maybe that's for another time though.
We are going to get into. We're gonna have a Star Wars episode of the show for sure because we are all big Star Wars fans. Mm-hmm. And moving on, there was a comment on our TikTok, a question that I found very interesting, Mitch found very interesting, and Mark found very interesting, because this is something that is super topical, and I think that it's very important to talk about, and it's about privilege in sports. And first of all, does it exist? How it exists? And what can be done to counter it? Or is there a reason for it? And let's get into that. So we started with Mark last time. Let's go with Mitch this time. Mitch, is there privilege in sports? And kind of explain some of the privilege you see.
Oh, there's 100% privilege in sports, no matter what. It's you can't even argue that there isn't. There's always some kind of privilege in sports. I think the most obvious one and the one that needs to be addressed the most is white privilege, and that's something that's on the court and it's on and off. It's the same thing, and we saw a lot of more support from white communities in support of Black Lives Matter when we had this kind of movement, or not movement, but protest of what had happened in the world during like May and June, which we did have a lot of support, but it shouldn't stop there. And like example of this is, especially when you play like as a kid. Let's go back when we were kids. When I was a kid, I was maybe one of two white guys on my basketball team. And there were times where we faced an all-white team, and some of these guys would be using racial slurs at my teammates. And at a moment, they would never say that to me, because obviously I don't have the same skin color or anything, but I don't understand how it feels for that to happen. And they would want to fight these guys because they're using the N-word, things like that. That's privilege that I got as being a white guy playing basketball. And I guess you can say the same thing about hockey as well, in the sense of not maybe about white privilege, but the sense of privilege of having money, because hockey is one of the most expensive sports in Canada, and it's also your national sport. And I think that's one of the things too that is a clear privilege, is having money. Simple as that. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I think like in a lot of sports, like you were saying basketball, and like obviously as a white guy on a basketball team, you sort of like, because I'm pretty sure yours was like sort of a mix of white guys and black guys, right? On your team, Mitch?
Yes.
My team was usually like all colored people, and like that one white guy, he was a shooter and he was in the corner, and that was me
on my team.
And just like sort of thinking like that, like it's a lot in every sport, you know what I mean? Just like sort of the stereotypes and the privilege of what comes with playing hockey or playing one of these extra rich sports. And it's like, oh, if I was playing hockey, it'd be weird. But if Mitch is playing hockey, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? It's probably like pretty good for him. So I think it just comes from not a lot of education as well. You know what I mean?
No, and you're right. It starts from an early age, as parents not putting their kids, obviously white kids, in a bubble. Have them talk about these issues, have them understand what other people experience that you don't because you're white. Talk about that, address that with them. Talk about LeBron James and his activism, Colin Kaepernick's activism. This ain't bad stuff you can talk about. Like, talk to them about see how they feel about how this was treated, if you were treated the way people are treated. Like, it's kind of like simple as that.
For sure. I agree with that for sure. And I think I would like to hope, and I've been noticing this shift, as I think Max Kellerman said it on First Take, is that we're slowly getting to the point where being a black quarterback is no longer a thing. Like, no. I feel like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if a quarterback was black, it would be like a thing. Oh, he's a black quarterback. Now he's just a quarterback. Like, no one refers to Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson as a black quarterback. They're just a quarterback. And I think that we're starting to see a shift. However, there is definitely a lot of areas that need improvement. And I think the number one thing that a lot of people don't realize is within the front offices. I think that they are heavily, especially in the NFL with a lot of these owners. These owners are white, rich, typically people from down south with oil money that buy NFL teams. And a lot of the time, the people that work are also white, come from money. So I think there's ways to combat that. Like, I know with coaches, they had the Rooney Rule, and say what you want, but I think that their new rule about, working harder to develop, to give minority coaches the chance to develop within the system is significantly better than the Rooney Rule. But it's definitely interesting. And speaking on Mitch's point about hockey's a sport that I grew up absolutely loving. It was one of my favorite sports. And the truth is, and this is still true today, black hockey players, especially in the NHL, and even coming up within the league are held to a different standard than white hockey players. PK Subban is held at a different standard than a lot of other white hockey players. And you see it constantly in hockey, and it's ridiculous. PK Subban, a big reason why, now this is believed, I'm not saying this is true, but the big rumor of why he left Montreal, because he was a great defenseman there, a big rumor why he left is because a lot of people were racist in Quebec, and they didn't like that he was there. They didn't like that he was a black player on playing a traditionally white sport on a traditionally white French-speaking team. And, it's horrible to see. However, I do feel like there are more and more, black people and minorities playing hockey and getting into hockey at a young age. So, again, that's something that you would love to see shift. And, it's all about, like Mitch said, taking the right steps and having the right conversations.
Starts at a young age. That's all.
Exactly, for sure.
People you're not born a racist or born, you're taught that.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
You're taught this. So start at a young age. Parents, don't put your child in a bubble. Simple as that.
For sure. Any last comments on that, Mark? Or?
Yeah, I think you guys touched on it pretty well. You know what I mean? And it's important to have these conversations. I obviously have a lot of similar beliefs to you guys because I guess I'm not white per se. Not I'm a colored guy, so I'm half. Some call me light skinned Dominican, so I can see from both sides of what happens. You know what I mean? So I understand both sides of where people come from. I can see people on the black side of this happens to me and this still going on, but the white people you guys trying to push it in a good direction, and I think if we all can come push it together, we'll be better as a people.
It's just about a conversation. It's asking questions, figuring out understanding it. It's not being scared of it. Us, this is a sensitive topic, but we can still talk about it and try and show more awareness for it for everybody else as well. But I think we kind of gone over time of our time limit here, I think.
For sure.
But I think it was a great reason why we went over. Great topic.
Of
very
course.
Great question as well.
Because as Mitch said, this is something that needs to be discussed. And of course, this is given that me and Mitch are not speaking on what it's like to be a black person, to be a minority, because in case you haven't noticed, we're both white. And but we're just saying of stuff we've noticed coming up in sports and being sports fans as two white boys. But you know what? I think we should end it there. End it on that note. Mark, your wisdom teeth okay?
Hurting a bit. If probably people watching me, they've seen me a few times. But yeah, it's pretty good. It'll probably be out by next time. So wish me the best.
That's right. And as well, guys, if you watch this live, follow us on TikTok. It's not like we post 3 times a day or something. No, we post our answers to these questions. We post funny things of Frankie and I singing along to Demi Lovato. Stuff like that, pretty funny stuff.
Girlfriend yelling at him or
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I whatever. But yes, follow us on TikTok. Do I Want to Know Pod? All right, follow us there. You can ask us questions. Our next What You Want to Know episode will happen in not next week, but the week after. It's every 2 weeks we do it.
2 weeks.
Looking forward to the next one.
For sure. So yeah, follow us on TikTok. Follow Mitch and Mark on their personals because Mitch always posts those thirst traps, and Mark is doing some fire movie reviews for his new 365. My Instagram is fairly dead. It's kind of snooping on what people are doing, what people are posting. But follow us on our personals anyways. And thank you for watching. And make sure you guys tune in next week for another episode of Do I Want to Know. Take care, everyone.